Here's the top business news of the week. Russia is openly threatening to cut off gas supplies to Europe. That would lead to enormous supply shortages, especially for Germany, but also for the rest of the EU. Many companies use gas for furnaces in their production. People heat with it, and power plants produce electricity with gas. A sudden supply stop would cause energy prices to increase dramatically. Prices for oil and gas have already increased. Consumers can see that every day at the petrol stations and on their gas bill. Before the Russian attack, a megawatt hour of gas cost 69 euros and was considered expensive at the time. In the meantime, the price has soared to a record high of 335 euros. No one knows whether Russia will enact its threat and turn off the tap completely. That's why the EU wants to become independent of Russian gas as quickly as possible. Repower EU is the new strategy. It relies on many different energy suppliers, including wind, solar energy and electricity from biogas.
Renewables give us the freedom to choose an energy source that is clean, cheap, reliable and ours. And instead of continuing to fund fossil fuel imports and fund Russian oligarchs, renewables create new jobs here in Europe.
By the end of the year, the EU wants to replace 2/3 of Russian gas imports. The war in Ukraine shocked Europe. Now it's rapidly accelerating the EU's energy transition toward greener energy sources.
Through the window of his office, Mayor Hans-Peter Hesken looks out onto one of Europe's largest gas storage facilities. It's operated by a Gazprom subsidiary in the municipality of Jemgum, deep in northern Germany. The gas exports supply the Kremlin with revenue it can use for war. Thousands of people are now dying in this war, and ultimately, the war is being financed by funds that are earned here in Germany, maybe even right here in our community. So I don't think anyone here in the community is still behind the company. Deep beneath the town lie salt domes where the natural gas from Russia is being stored. What particularly annoys the mayor is that the volunteer fire department has to ensure the safety of the Gazprom facility. It costs the town around €250,000 a year. There has to be an agreement that the operators of the gas caverns will share in the costs. In other words, they'll contribute 70% of the costs for firefighting services. We've calculated this share on the basis of the hazard potential that the plant represents. He's been negotiating with the Gazprom subsidiary Astora in Kassel for years, so far without any success. Astora, Wingas, Gascade and other Gazprom subsidiaries operate the largest gas storage facilities in Germany. They also own important pipelines and trade in Russian natural gas, a murky corporate network. The municipalities also lose tax revenue as a result. All of a sudden, through a reallocation, there was a change of name. There was not even a single tax cent. There's no way to reach out to those responsible. It's been like that in the past, so the experience with Gazprom was not a good one here in the region. Until now, Gazprom has been able to operate freely on the market in Germany, even building its own pipelines, like here in eastern Germany. Only now, with the war on Ukraine, there's been a change of thinking. The state has been given more control. We have an appointment with Bill Browder at the Ritz, one of London's most swanky addresses. He was once one of the most important investors in Russia, but he quickly became an opponent of Vladimir Putin and was expelled from the country. He's lived in London for 16 years and is one of the Kremlin's biggest critics.
Britain has been a soft spot for dirty Russian money for the last 20 years. They've come here. They like the rule of law. They like the property rights. And they like the fact that nobody's going to ask any questions.
With Bill Browder, we visit Eaton Square in the posh Belgravia district, nicknamed Red Square. The asking price for a 5-bedroom apartment here is more than €20 million. And no one needs to know who the real owner is. Anti-corruption activists estimate that Russian oligarchs with ties to Putin have invested almost 2 billion euros in real estate alone in recent years.
There are shell companies and trusts and offshore trusts and nominees and proxies all working hard to shield the true ownership of these properties.
The city is known by some as Londongrad because of the many wealthy Russians who live here. Not all of them have earned their money honestly. This week, the British Parliament finally passed a law to curb corrupt money flows from Russia to untangle complex ownership structures. But that's only a first step, experts say.
Legislation is just not enough. Enforcement needs to happen, and it needs to be properly funded and resourced. What happens right now is that the National Crime Agency has been underfunded for a generation. So what we need to see now is for law enforcement agencies to be funded to act now and use the tool that they are given at the moment.
Critics ask whether it really took a war in Europe to cut off the wealthy Russians from their London playground.
The World Bank has approved a new aid package for Ukraine worth almost $500 million. It is available immediately. The money can be used to pay wages for hospital employees, pensions and social benefits. More and more Western companies are ceasing operations in Russia. Coca-Cola is joined by competitor Pepsi. Starbucks, McDonald's and KFC are also pulling out of Russia because of the attack on Ukraine. And the list of companies recalling their employees is also growing longer with each passing day. Motorists are feeling the pinch of the Ukraine war at the gas pumps. But now car manufacturers are also facing rising prices for aluminum, which is used to build car bodies, and for palladium, which is used in catalytic converters, and for nickel, which is used in batteries. Aluminum and palladium have both reached record highs. Nickel hit its highest level since 2007. As a result, cars and spare parts could become more expensive. The European Central Bank intends to take all necessary measures to ensure the stability of the euro. ECB President Christine Lagarde said the interest rate will remain untouched. However, the ECB is accelerating its exit from stimulus programs. Inflation could rise further in the short term, she said, as energy, oil and gas become much more expensive due to the war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is accelerating plans by the EU to move away from fossil fuels. One project that could play an important role in these efforts is Tesla's Gigafactory in Brandenburg, now that it's received final environmental approval, a long-awaited milestone. This does not mean that all bureaucratic hurdles have been cleared, but the new factory is nearing its opening.
Any farmer who still has grain in storage is now turning it into cash. Rudolf Peters, a trader in northern Germany, ships wheat to ports like Hamburg and Rostock. From there, it heads off to North Africa. Since it became clear that wheat deliveries from Ukraine, one of the world's largest wheat exporters, would be cancelled, the managing director has been inundated with inquiries despite the high prices. Depending on the daily fluctuations, wheat currently costs around €450 a tonne. Then the goods have to be transported to North Africa, to Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Algeria. There are freight rates of €40 to €50 a tonne, so recipient countries have to pay €500 a tonne. Ukraine has traditionally been one of the world's largest wheat exporters, with many large farms. On the world market, the country has often competed with Russia in recent years. Now, because of the war, the country can no longer deliver. There's a shortage of employees, fuel and seed. People around the world are feeling the loss. According to the latest World Food Report, we already have an increase in malnourished people, which is again moving in the direction of 1 billion people, and it's feared that with this commodity price explosion we're experiencing, a further increase in malnutrition is to be expected. In this large flour mill, they process around 1,000 tons of wheat a day. The fact that Ukrainian wheat is in short supply on markets around the world has also been noticed by mill owner Jan Kordesmeyer. He advocates producing less meat in order to stabilise grain prices and also secure food in poor countries. In Germany, we use about half of the wheat produced to feed pigs and other livestock to produce meat. But now I can only produce 1 kilo of meat from 7 kilos of grain. This raises the question of whether it still makes sense to grow so much wheat for meat production. It'll be a long time before the next grain harvest in Europe and before the warehouses fill up again.
The Lady M, a luxury yacht worth around 65 million euros. It was seized over the weekend on the Italian Mediterranean coast. The owner is Alexei Mordashov, one of the richest men in Russia and a major shareholder in the German tourism company TUI. Yachts, airplanes, company shares and luxury real estate abroad are considered assets and therefore fall under the sanctions against the country. On the Côte d'Azur, this mega yacht owned by Russian billionaire and Putin supporter Igor Sechin was also prevented from sailing, literally at the last minute. It's valued at around 120 million euros. It was docked. It was about to leave. It was a matter of hours. We really did a check on the people and we managed to stop the ship and keep it docked. It belongs to a highly placed personality in Russia. It belongs to people who are being sanctioned.
Et qui fait partie donc des gens pour lesquels les sanctions économiques sont infligées.
The sanctions hit the richest Russians, such as Putin confidant and entrepreneur Alisher Usmanov. His luxury yacht, one of the largest in the world, worth around 600 million euros, is in a shipyard in the port of Hamburg and could soon be seized. The US has also imposed sanctions on Usmanov and 7 other Putin-friendly oligarchs. These include Nikolai Tokarev, the head of energy giant Transneft, and billionaire Arkady Rotenberg and his brother. There are also visa restrictions on 19 other Russian billionaires. The FBI is specifically looking for him, Yevgeny Prigozhin, also known as Putin's cook. He runs a catering company that serves meals to the Kremlin. He is said to be one of the founders of the Wagner Group, a paramilitary unit that recently sent 400 soldiers to try and assassinate Ukrainian President Zelensky. Thank you for watching.